I'll do this one. Yeah, that's all right.
Cool. All right. Good evening, everybody. I will call the City Council of Bloomington listening session Monday, May 6, 2024 to order. As you can see, I am not Mayor Bussey. Mayor Bussey is not here, so I will be acting mayor tonight. So tonight we have 4 callers who called ahead for the listening session. We have Sally Ness, Brian Wolf, and Christine Wolf, and as well as Sean Kulka. Sean here? No? Okay, we'll save him till the end if he comes. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight on anything? Okay, so that means we'll have about 7 to 8 minutes for each speaker. So we'll start with Sally, if you want to come on up.
Thank you. Last listening session, there was a comment that plan alterations happened. Yes, but the plan alteration requires compliance to city code and state statute, and it should be safe. There was also a comment that there was enough disability parking spaces. Yes, but they were located where buses pick up, and that is multiple use against state statute. Additionally, these spaces are blocked by the picking up and dropping off of patrons. There was a comment that it is fine. It was not. The buses were blocking the disability parking against the state statute, and it was not an accusation. Last week, the buses parked in the westerly lot and are not blocking disability parking and therefore compliant with the state statute. Although compliant, I do not believe it is safe for students to access the buses by walking through a parking lot. And once again, the reason this is and continues to be a planning and engineering concern. I've requested data to understand why planning and or engineering approved the parking lot against the state statute, and I will provide counsel when it is received. And to be clear, the students are not safe because of Darrell Farouk, not because of the request for state statute compliance. The disability parking was compliant where it was originally located, and it would have been compliant on the south end of the parking lot as noted in the parking plan. Comment about why now. As I stated before, in 2011, I questioned the construction of parking in front of the building. I was told it was a grandfathered use. I provided council a copy of the survey from 2011. There was no parking there, and new construction is not a grandfathered use. For safety reasons, the area in front of the building should have remained open for pickup and drop off, and parking should not have been added. The 2011 conditional use permit was for a private school of 60 students, and it never opened. In about 2013, the city changed the city code that institutional uses are required to be adjacent to an arterial or a collector. Darrell Farouk is not. July 10th, 2017, Bloomington Fire sends Department of Public Safety an email back informing the Department of Public Safety that typically we get a form and that the location they are looking for restricts them to 60 students, teachers based on the cut. August 2017, the council finds out a school will open on the property. 2019, I was in the neighbor's driveway with the neighbor's permission, legally documenting the non-compliance to the disability parking and other concerns, and the police came up to my car, and later the city asked the county attorney to prosecute me. November 4th, 2022, the mayor and council were sent an email with the subject, handicap parking not available as required. Additional emails were sent April 12th, 2023, April 17th, 24, May 30th, July 3rd. The buses picking up students in the westerly lot is compliant with the state statute, but it is not safe for students, and I question whether it is compliant with the city code and the Minnesota Department of Education. But again, it is compliant with the state statute, so I will move on to the next concern. The next concern is city code compliance to parking lot lighting requirements. The Darrell Farouk property does not have lights at the entrances. This was previously brought up and confirmed that entrances are part of the parking lot and are required to have lighting. Previously, when a section of the Darrell Farouk parking lot did not have lighting, the city attorney required that part of the parking lot to be closed. The point, lighting is required.
Sean or Councilwoman Nelson?
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Can you go back a couple pages ago and give the When was the first time you sent an email to the council regarding disability?
The first one that I found, because I believe I've sent something earlier, but the first one that I mentioned was November 4th, 2022. And I did send you guys a copy of it.
Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kelly. And yeah, I know Chief Hodges has been in contact with the principal at Darul Farouk, and so I know they're working, and you've stated that they're working through finding a solution to make sure that the students are safe as they're getting onto their buses. So anything else, we'll follow up and get back to you.
I'm not sure if you got it, though, that they're compliant with the state statute. They've moved the students into the westerly lot. But again, that's not safe. And so it is a planning and engineering concern. You know, Chief Hodges, this, you know, it's state statute compliant. So why Hodges is part of this makes no sense. It would be planning and engineering with the safety issue.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Chief Hodges is perfectly capable of working with people to bring forth compliance with state law. You can say that we should have somebody else do it or that, but Chief Hodges is pretty high up the totem pole in terms of people who rank in following the law. And
right.
So I think he can deal with it.
I said it's state statute compliant. Yes, it is.
So then that's where we're working.
But the children are walking through the parking lot. And I do not think planning and engineering, when somebody says we're going to do a school and they say we're going to have our students being picked up in the middle of the parking lot, I have a feeling planning and engineering would say we need a better solution. That's not safe for the kids. I don't think that is our police chief's job. I think that is planning and engineering's job.
And I guess respectfully, I disagree. I think that Chief Hodges is perfectly capable of addressing that. I think he's perfectly capable of looking at multiple factors of an issue. And he's a very high-ranking person, very well respected, and he's on it. I mean,
well, like
you can disagree with who should take it, but somebody has to take the lead on it. And Chief Hodges is. You're not going to find anyone more highly ranking than him to deal with it.
Well, for instance, the person with the light that is, you know, work through the city staff. You don't go and call the police department in unless there becomes a conflict. So we expect the planning to know how lighting is supposed to be.
Was your concern where
Councilman, we're out of time. Yeah, we're gonna, yep. Thank you, Sally. Mr. Brian Wolf.
Thank you.
If you could state your name for the record there. Thank you.
I will do that. Brian Wolf, I spoke to you on the 15th. I'm a property owner in Bloomington. On April 29th, you heard from Matthew Halleck. He spent several minutes disparaging the current concerns I expressed on the 15th regarding a bike trail through 9 Mile Creek corridor. And I'm here tonight to address those remarks. I'm not going to respond to all of Mr. Halleck's claims and criticisms. There's not time for that. And frankly, I cannot respond to any meaningful way to those statements I found to be incomprehensible or too twisted to untangle in this forum. Before moving on to more substantive matters, I wish to correct an erroneous assertion made by Mr. Halleck regarding me personally. That is that I spoke on the 15th as a representative of Restore the Nine. This is not true. I explicitly noted that I was speaking only for myself and that I was not a member of Restore the Nine. I am now, and I take pride in saying so. I've met and spoken with many Restore the Nine members since the 15th of April, and I found them to be genuinely interested in promoting the public welfare. They care about the city and they're driven by informed and honorable motives. And I'll be fortunate if I can always be associated with such individuals. On the 15th, I noted that laying additional asphalt within the 9 Mile Creek corridor would promote erosion. In apparent reply, Mr. Halleck stated that the biggest factors for erosion are trail design, construction, and maintenance. I do not disagree and express no beliefs to the contrary. I simply contend that there is a well-understood positive relationship between water runoff rates and trail surface area. All things being equal, the greater the impervious surface area, the faster precipitation flows into waterways. Of course, the mass of earthen material water will erode is a function of volume and velocity. So with respect to protecting water quality and combating erosion, a wider trail will do more harm than a narrow trail. Mr. Halleck claims that erosion from a wider, well-maintained shared-use trail would be negligible. But of course, the word negligible, as he uses it, is a subjective term. To have any meaning, it must be rather precisely qualified and quantified. Negligible with respect to what measure? What time period? What species? Adding 50 to 100,000 square feet of asphalt would increase bank erosion rates, thermal pollution, and stream siltation. And to my way of thinking, moving in the wrong direction on environmental protection is nearly always ecologically significant and morally wrong when not dictated by necessity. Mr. Halleck reminds me of the Hummer driver who dismisses global climate science and her critics by saying, "My emissions do negligible damage." They might be too small to be accurately measured, but because negligible changes are usually additive, they are often very meaningful. We all appreciate this. It's embedded in Kant's categorical imperative. What if everyone did that? What if every municipality in Minnesota lays another 50 to 100,000 square feet of pavement this year, next year, and every year? When will the impact no longer be negligible? When will we say, okay, that crosses the line? If we follow Mr. Halleck's reasoning, never. Each event will be viewed in isolation and be dismissed as negligible. Mr. Halleck dismissed one of my concerns by stating that a widened trail is not an issue for habitat loss because turf grass and invasive species line much of the trail. It is true that exotic species line too much of the trail, but a restorationist should certainly recognize that this need not be so. Restore the 9 members have an alternative vision. We would like to see most of the turf grass replaced, the invasive species removed, and the trail kept narrow in order to maximize the land area that can be planted with native herbs and grasses. Of course, valuable shade trees also line the current trail and would be destroyed if the trail is widened for cyclists. According to Mr. Halleck, this doesn't matter because many of the trees in the corridor are already dying. I see it differently. Faced with the destruction being caused by the emerald ash borer, we should be trying to protect every tree that's standing and healthy. I said on the 15th that the biggest environmental problems are caused by the additive effects of many small, apparently inconsequential acts. I fully stand by my statement. Any list of big environmental problems would include global climate change, habitat loss, eutrophication, and aquifer depletion. None of these problems is attributable to one big source or cause, all the result of millions of small acts performed by millions of individuals. And all will, incidentally, be incrementally worsened if additional asphalt is laid in the 9 Mile Creek corridor. Mr. Halleck challenged my claim saying that small cuts did not get us here. It is how we developed our city. How does he think the city developed? We all know very well that the city grew incrementally and that degradation of the 9 Mile Creek ecosystem progressed through thousands of rather small changes to the natural landscape, like changes we're talking about here. These small cuts continue to accumulate and tear holes in our environment. If progress continues, there will be a trail laid along the Minnesota River, a new bike trail laid through the 9 Mile Creek corridor, multiple new parking lots within the watershed. Cumulatively, these projects will destroy acres of valuable wetland and replace 1 million square feet of water absorbing, nutrient gathering, carbon capturing, wildlife supporting, living ground cover. As a well-credentialed environmental scientist, I assure you that these cuts will have a significant impact on our environment. and barring an ecological awakening, I fear the process will continue bit by bit until the loss of important ecological services is too obvious, even to the ignorant, and too costly to ignore any longer. Bloomington touts sustainability, but what is being done and proposed is unsustainable. And what do we gain if a bike trail through the 9 Mile Creek corridor is constructed? Very, very little. Bicyclists wishing to go from Moyer Park to the river bottoms can get there more directly via Morgan Avenue, 106th Street in Lyndale. This is a distance of just 1.4 miles along rather bicycle-friendly roads and existing trail. This route could be made more bicycle-friendly at a small cost relative to the expense of constructing a trail through the 9 Mile Creek corridor.
Mr. Wolf.
I've got about one more minute.
Okay.
Mr. Halleck believes a bike trail would benefit every student west of 35W. We think there are enough bike trails and that students of all ages would be best served by creating an educational corridor where children and their parents can walk, stand, talk, and contemplate the workings of the natural world without being harried by bicycle traffic. Numerous academic studies have found a negative correlation between paved surface area and student achievement. This should not be surprising. Children are naturally biophilic, and their innate interest in living things can drive them into the STEM disciplines when encouraged. It did so in my case, and I taught hundreds of students who were launched into biology and other STEM disciplines by an interest in nature, nurtured by access to relatively undisturbed ecosystems. We do not need another bike trail. There are miles of bike trail and more in development. Bloomington residents would be far better served if the city would prioritize environmental protection and preserve the current peaceful character of the 9 Mile Creek corridor.
We're at time.
Actually, as we're at the end of our time, I just wanted to, at the end of the meeting, I want to touch base with you.
I would like that very much. Thank you.
Very quickly.
So you said what's being proposed in your comments? You said
At least proposed by Mr. Halleck, also up for possible inclusion by
I
the
just
city.
wanted to be clear for the record and for those in the room that a bike path at this point has not been proposed, right? It is something like you said.
We have heard that, but it's talked about in a video put out by the city. And it seems pretty clear that there's a strong interest in it. We want to make sure that we're heard
Well, I don't
loudly
believe
and
it,
clearly before a
so
decision is made.
To clarify for you, we have not had any conversations where we've said there's going to be a bike path.
I have to believe that because you can't have closed door sessions and none of us have heard that.
So
I think if there are
thank you.
further questions,
Catch you at the end there.
Actually, I'll hand over my time to him so you can consider.
if you have questions.
Yep, I don't need to.
Okay.
Mayor,
Given that case, then we'll move on to the next speaker to make sure that we fit everyone in, and then we'll circle back to the end.
That is certainly fair.
Brian, can you sign? Did you sign your?
I will do that.
not closing right.
Thank you. Given that's the case, then we'll move to Sean Kolka.
Hi.
Thank you, Sean. If you could state your name for the record, and then let us know what you're here to speak to us about.
My name's Sean Kulka, and I'm here. I've lived in Bloomington for about 30 years, and I moved to central Bloomington over on 97th Street, right next to the new car wash called Tommy's Express Car Wash. And it's really loud. I think I'm going to have to move
Sure.
because it's not like a regular car wash where a car pulls up and they open the door and car drives in. They leave the door open and then their workers play the music and it's like 75 to 100 yards away from my window. And I shut the windows and I can hear it right through the windows. So I just wanted to say that I think it was a mistake to put a loud business like that next to a home with 40 people, 40 different homes in that building that I live in, right across the street. I think it was a mistake to make that business there. And maybe there could be some steps taken, putting up a cement wall in front of their vacuuming area or a brick wall that blocks the entrance where the cars drive in, because that sound comes right through that door and they leave it open during the day. So I called today to complain about it to the police, and then I thought I'd look and see if there was a council meeting, and it was in 2 hours, so
Well, we appreciate you being here. We'll start Councilmember Carter and then.
unprepared, I guess is what I'm trying to explain, is just kind of came in the seat of my pants.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. So if I recall, when that project came in front of the council, there were some requirements related to noise. And so it makes me wonder if that just needs to be checked out by city staff to make sure they're complying. But
They got
to your
speakers
point-
on the outside of the building for people that are vacuuming their car to hear music while they're vacuuming their car.
And I
So
don't
you've got a loud vacuum,
part of the plan.
you got a loud vacuum, and they're putting music outside the building. So the person that's running a vacuum can hear music while they're vacuuming.
Yeah, totally.
So they're trying to break through that vacuuming noise to listen to music.
Yeah. I can absolutely.
The establishment, the establishment has made a decision there that when a person across the street has their windows closed, they're watching TV, they still are fighting to hear their TV because of that place. So there's 40 different units in my building, and it's directly across the street from the entrance to that place. They have dryers there, and people, of course, on the hour. And you know, just from going to a gas station, somebody pulls in and they're playing the ground shaker speakers in their car. And I think it was a huge mistake to put that place across the street from 40 homes, right across the street.
Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, thank you, Acting Mayor. Appreciate you bringing that forth. My understanding is noise is regulated by the state. There are specific standards, and I believe that our staff can help check to make sure that they're in compliance with those standards.
Okay.
So thank you for bringing
Thanks.
that up as a concern. I think
I got
I'm
it.
not wrong.
Yep.
Staff will follow up with that and be able to
Great.
help make sure they're in compliance with the standards. We say that the standards do allow for a certain level of noise.
Sure.
We have
I'm trying to take it just as though as a resident across
Yeah.
the street.
We have no control over the state standards. They
Right.
are state standards, and if they're in compliance, they are. If they're not, then we'll work with them to come into compliance
And
on.
there's different zoning areas in a city or not?
Yes and no, but they're all state standards.
Right.
So they are relative commercial to residential versus commercial to commercial have different standards. But what I think in your area would be commercial to residential standards would need to be met. And they need to be met, and there's all sorts of L10, L20. I can't explain it to you.
It's never been an issue, you know, because it
Yeah.
was, you know, there's Pier Skate and Ski, which is quiet. You never hear anybody over there.
Yeah.
And next to it was an office building.
Yeah, no, Mr. King's business was there, and there was another, it was just an office building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a change in use. Definitely when it came before the council, it was proposed to meet state law, and if it's not, let's take a look at that and figure out how to bring it into compliance. And if those outdoor speakers, if it's door closing, there's other things we can do.
So I think their internal sound system connects to the outdoor speakers. Because there'll be nobody outside, and then on a slow day, the workers are bored, so they're inside cranking the music, and it's going to the outside speakers, and we can hear it. You know, it's just pretty bad. So,
Are we doing the time?
Yep, we have about a minute left.
So just so I'm clear, your issue is with the sound, and what time or is your concern with the sound? Is it after 9 o'clock?
it's from 7 a.m. until 9 p.m., 7 days a week.
Okay, does any of that sound occur after 9 o'clock?
No, it's closed.
Okay.
They're open though from 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning. There's a speaker when the car drives up to the entrance that'll say, pull forward and put your car into neutral and whatever, you know, and that's like,
So you can hear this with your window closed.
oh yeah. Yeah, that one's really loud.
Okay. I just want to be sure that our staff understands the entire.
Yeah, it's not only the music, it's that talking to the person in the car with their windows up, they're breaking through the in closed windows to try to tell the person verbally to put it into neutral.
And it's just the sound, there's no light.
No, there's no light issues. They had their lights on really bright, for like months. And then like last week, all of a sudden I noticed it's darker over there. So I think somebody who was closing was making a mistake by not turning off a certain section of lights.
Have you gone over to the business at all?
No, I've called about noise, about the car that just pulled in that's been there for 10 minutes booming their music, or the car that's been sitting there for 2 hours and all of his buddies are pulling in the lot. It's turned into the teenage mall. That vacuum area, one person goes there and there's nothing else to do, teenagers. So they just sit there, and then in the next 2 hours, of course, the 2 hours, they stay there when all these other cars are coming in. Maybe they're selling drugs. I don't pay that much attention to it, but that happens a lot. And I'm not going to categorize it into race groups, but it's a lot of Somalian kids with nothing to do around town.
We're at time. Thank you so much.
All right.
Okay, we'll follow up with our staff and make sure.
Thanks so much for your time.
Just a couple minutes left. So if anyone has something quick they would like to jump in with, otherwise we can take these conversations offline if there's no one else. Okay, hearing none, I would look for a motion to close the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Put your hand a second. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're done. Thank you. We are adjourned. Oh, okay. Yes.
Motion, seconded.
Got it.